it is time for a very personal segment of God's mistakes. Now, the hand's still there. That's the hand of God. Now, God's mistakes, as you all know, are the most effed up forms of life. And I want to throw up this one picture, which is kind of interesting. And this is a personal episode, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Throw up that first one. There we go. So, there's something called Opuntia. It's a group of cacti, which everyone is familiar with. If you go to that first picture, it's prickly pears. They're used in cooking. I've had, they're called nopales. Go to the prickly pear photo. It's the next one. Yeah, these are very familiar to everyone. Those fruit are sold in stores in any Spanish neighborhood, and even if not, they're an icon of the Southwest. What Opuntias are, don't zoom in, zoom out a little bit. What Opuntias are, how they grow, are in pads. You see those pads, you see the joint at the bottom. Those are called cladodes. So the pads are flat. You can pull off a pad, stick it in the dirt, the pad roots, and you can reproduce asexually. So they're very easy to propagate in cultivation. If someone has an Opuntia plant, just pull off a pad, now you have a new plant infinitely, as many as you want. The thing with Opuntia is, which is very annoying, they have something on them, these microscopic hairs, not microscopic, but very, very small, called glockids, which have two little barbed microscopic hooks at the end. So if you touch them, they go and try to dig into your skin, and that's where I believe they make itching powder from. So when you have them, and even though it looks nice and smooth, if you want to handle them, you got to use tongs because it's annoying as hell. However, none of the Opuntias that grow flat like this have hair. They have spines. The best example of this is, or they have spines or they're flat. Or spineless. The best example of this is called the roadkill cactus. If you go to the next one, Consolea, it grows perfectly flat, like it had been run over by a steamroller. I grow this in my window, and they just branch out laterally. It looks really, really cool. It's a great present. They're like $8 you could give to someone. It looks like it's fake, but it's not. However, if you go to the next picture, some Opuntias have hair. This is a whole other genus called Cumulopuntia, right? If you go back to the first photo, you'll see we have a flat Opuntia with hair. Someone started growing this somewhere. No one knew where it came from. And because they didn't know where it came from, they didn't know what species it was. Now with plants, the best way to identify a species is through its flower, because no matter how much a plant's body changes, that flower is going to attract the pollinator. You want to make sure that bee or that fly or even the bat, whatever it is, can find that fruit, the flower generation or generation to pollinate. If the body can change as much as it wants, it's a complete separate issue. However, no one could get this thing to flower. So not only did you not know what, couldn't even narrow down, you didn't even know what species it was, you couldn't even narrow it down to genus. I got a hold of this because I was a big succulent collector, and I still have this in my house, and no one had a name for it. We called it teddy bear Opuntia, Claudi Opuntia, so on and so forth, and it shouldn't exist. It's an abomination against nature because you have the flat pads, and you have the hair, and those two genera do not interbreed. They're not particularly, particularly closely, the first one, particularly closely related. So I've been propagating, I sold some on eBay, and the beautiful thing, and this is how capitalism works, you could grow it, from this you can make 7, right? Easily. Just cut it up, put it in the ground. You can even cut them in half, put them in the ground. They propagate very easily. To this day, my understanding, no one really knows what this plant is. However, I was just walking around on 28th Street and 6th, and I saw it in the window of some random plant store. And this is a story of the beauty of capitalism, where what 6 years ago was a plant, no one knew what it was, no one knew where it came from, it defied all kind of taxonomical classification, and now you can get it at the store for $5, just like that. So when people talk about endangered species, and those are not only animals, those are plants, once you have a species and you could propagate it, in a few years, you could go from 1 to tens of thousands. It's really easy because the whole point is when a species reproduce, they're reproducing with the assumption that 99% of those offspring are going to be destroyed. So if you have 100 offspring that are not destroyed in that one generation, then within 2 generations, you have 10,000. And that's more than you know what to do with. And that's why it's $5 at that store on 28th Street. So I don't even know if that's God's mistake or it's a man-made's mistake. But that is the story of the Claudi Opuntia. And now I'm pissed because I've got a big one in my house and its value has collapsed. It's like buying Bitcoin. So my cred with having that Opuntia is now gone. Maybe I'll eat it. That was good timing. And I wanted to